Homestead, Florida is a city in Miami-Dade County located approximately 35 miles from Miami. It was incorporated in 1913, making it the second oldest city in Miami-Dade County. Despite being incorporated in 1913, it opened to homesteaders in 1898. These citizens were given land to establish agriculture and farming communities, emphasizing a major characteristic of Homestead still seen today. A major event that brought more people to Homestead was the construction of the Florida East Railway to Key West. The city continued to grow during a real estate boom in the 1920s. However, a powerful hurricane in 1926 destroyed homes and citrus crops, severely reducing the population. The population further declined during the Great Depression and with another hurricane in 1935 that destroyed the railway extension. The construction of a fully operational military base, Homestead Army Airfield, in 1942 greatly altered the population of Homestead as many veterans settled in the area. After the end of World War II, the demand for produce in America soared, and Homestead saw a sharp increase in the migrant worker population. These workers were mostly from the Bahamas, Jamaica, Puerto Rico, and later Haiti and Mexico. It is important to note that these workers had extremely limited access to health care, as many of them had to be transported to Jackson Hospital, and the nearest hospital in Homestead refused care to African American patients.
Increasing development of Homestead led to continuous population growth over the following decades. In 1992, Hurricane Andrew devastated Homestead, leaving 250,000 homeless in Dade County. Hospital staff was affected and primary care offices were destroyed, resulting in a health crisis and increasing lack of access to care. The Homestead Hurricane Air Base was destroyed, and this devastated the local economy. Although Homestead has changed significantly, it still remains a major agricultural area with many popular sites, including the Alligator Farms, Crowell Castle, and Nosberry Farm. Homestead has a growing and diverse population and increasing development in the area. Miami's significant wealth gap has been highlighted by the recent COVID crisis. Zip code 33034, which includes parts of Homestead and Florida City, has the highest poverty rates in the county and a significant immigrant population. Many in this zip code are farm workers with reduced access to testing and healthcare, leaving them especially vulnerable to the effects of this pandemic.
Overall, the demographics of Homestead are interesting. Homestead has a seemingly diverse population in regard to age, with an almost 1-to-1 ratio of male to female. The populace is predominantly white with Hispanic or Latino ethnicity, with 74% of the population identifying as such from the most recent census data available. Overall, Homestead seems to do worse compared to other locations in Miami-Dade on many characteristics. Home ownership in Homestead is at 34.7% compared to 44.2% of Miami-Dade as a whole. However, according to Miami-Dade Matters, this seems to have been trending upward. Education, adults with health insurance, means travel time to work, and poverty rates are all worse in comparison to Miami-Dade as a whole, and also seem to be trending downward overall. In Homestead, population density seems to increase in closer proximity to the Homestead Air Force Reserve Base and on the east of Homestead extension of the Florida Turnpike. Incidence of mortality from diabetes, stroke, and cancer vary widely from census tracts within Homestead. In quartiles, with 1 being the best and 4 the worst, tracts of Homestead rank in all quartiles for diabetes deaths per 100,000 in comparison to Miami-Dade census tracts as a whole. Homestead ranks in the first and second quartile for cancer deaths per 100,000. Homestead also generally ranks in the first and second quartile for stroke death rate, but as can be seen in royal blue, the northwest section of the city trends in the fourth quartile with 80 deaths per 100,000 individuals. Low birth weight ranks in either the third or fourth quartile for all tracts in Homestead.
Homestead has a population of 70,477 and a population density of 4,821 people per square mile. The population is 50.1% female and the remaining 49.9% is male. 10.2% of the population is under 5 years old, 31.8% is between 5 and 18 years of age, 50% is between 18 and 65 years of age, and 8% is above the age of 65 years. If you look at the racial demographics of Homestead, the largest subgroup are the Hispanic or Latino population, and they comprise 66.2% of Homestead's population, followed by African Americans or Blacks who comprise 20%, followed by non-Hispanic whites who comprise 13%, followed by people who are of 2 or more races at 3.3%, Asians at 1%, Native Hawaiians or other Pacific Islanders at 0.20%, and American Indians or Alaskan Natives at 0.3%. If you look at the breast cancer diagnosis and late-stage diagnosis in Homestead, you can see that compared to Miami-Dade and Florida, Homestead has a higher late-stage diagnosis rate of 42%. For cervical cancer, it has a late-stage diagnosis that is less than that of Miami-Dade and Florida at 45% compared to 53% and 51% respectively. And for colorectal cancer, it has a late-stage diagnosis of 58%, which is in the ballpark of both Miami-Dade and Florida at 61% and 57%.
Here we see the air quality index of Homestead compared to the greater Miami area. These compare very similarly and does not show clear indication of the Homestead area having a better or worse AQI than Miami. As a reference, AQI pollution levels for both Miami and Homestead fall in the good category between 0 and 50, rarely entering the moderate category where respiratory disease can be exacerbated. Recognized carcinogen totals are shown here on the left, with Homestead totaling about 45,000 pounds of carcinogens released into the air. The 2 main corporations located in Homestead that are responsible for these pollutants are shown below. A more in-depth breakdown of chemicals released into the air is provided on the right with their subsequent health effects.
About 1.1% of Miami-Dade County lives with HIV. Breaking it down by Homestead zip codes, the western portion of Homestead has a higher prevalence rate of HIV. And we've also broken it down by race, ethnicity, and sex. Looking at West Nile virus, it's the leading mosquito-borne disease in the United States. And we've had 59 cases through October 19, 2020. Looking at COVID statistics, we've had over 183,000 residents test positive, over 3,600 deaths. And breaking it down again by Homestead, we see that western and northeastern parts of Homestead have the highest prevalence of COVID-19 cases.
To me, Homestead means growth. It's where my parents first established themselves when they got to the US, where I grew up, and where we started our family business. I saw Homestead change so much while living there, and I think about how much it's grown in regards to healthcare. As someone in the medical field, I've realized the greater disparities in the Homestead community regarding healthcare, especially in comparison to urban Miami. Having grown up in a smaller community, I think that the health needs of more rural areas are often overlooked. I guess my hope is that, over time, Homestead continues to grow for the better, especially in regards to health outcomes.